invite Mr. Yonov Frederick Agah, Deputy Director General, World Trade Organization, Geneva, for the plenary address. Sir.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I was almost coming to the podium with a placard. I think the organizers have been very unkind to me, calling on me to speak after not just an eloquent speaker, but also a very inspiring address. It makes me look back in 1976, when out of some naughtiness, I became the campaign manager of the first female president of the Student Union in my university, in Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. It looked impossible in a society that was well tilted against her, but we went round the whole horse and we made it possible for her to be elected as the first Student Union female president. So I come to the podium not in unity as a woman with women, but as a human being in unity with women. I know after so much inspiration and given the challenges of the global economy today, its impact on women, and particularly the problems we face with respect to trade, I hope I will not dampen your spirit after I would have finished my address, but I would have also tried to show to you that trade matters and trade remains an important tool for women empowerment and growth. So I will try to read my address just to be sure I get my messages across. Women empowerment, I think this is the issue we are talking about today. And these represent a very strong combination of words, more so as extreme poverty strikes women much harder than men in poor and low-income countries. According to UN Women and the Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative, women earn 10% of the world's income while accounting for 2/3 of global working hours. In most countries, they receive, on average, 60 to 75% of men's wages. Economic opportunity is clearly skewed against women. We therefore need to do more for women. We need to remove the numerous obstacles still barring them from employment, decent work, and economic development. And of course, the common denominator of these obstacles, which is social inequality and injustice. My address, therefore, will highlight some of the important areas where trade can contribute to women's empowerment, as well as the different elements of WTO work that are contributing and will continue to contribute to this critical global endeavor. Women still face biased laws and social norms, making it more difficult for them to access finance, skills, and knowledge, which are all tools that they need for their economic empowerment and advancement. It is heartening to note that gender equality is now one of the Sustainable Development Goals, and many developing countries are putting this issue at the center of their development strategies. This is an issue that is being taken very seriously by governments at the highest level. For instance, Côte d'Ivoire has created a ministry for women in charge of promoting gender and women contribution to economic growth. In the Gambia, the vice president is also in charge of women's empowerment. Organizations are also working on creating gender standards. For instance, in the future, an entrepreneur could be certified as a women-owned business and use this certification as an advantage on the market or government procurement processes. During the event organized by the WTO for International Women's Day earlier this month, one WTO member mentioned the research that is ongoing to rethink trade rules and include gender in the WTO's rulebook. In fact, most of the WTO members believe that trade can empower women and achieve Sustainable Development Goal 5 on gender equality. These are only a few examples of how women's empowerment is being pushed worldwide and in many different sectors. Mentalities are also changing, which is usually the good sign that the world is transforming. All my professional life as a trade diplomat, I have heard that international trade rules are gender neutral. However, reading through the 500 pages of rules that govern international trade, there is indeed no mention of the word gender in all the agreements that we have. But the global economy is not gender neutral, and the burden of extreme poverty falls disproportionately on women. Of people living in poor households in developing countries, women and girls represent about 50%. This is where trade can help. If trade can open a door to women's employment, decent work, and economic development, this will go very far. Exporting companies in developing countries employ more women than non-exporters. Global value chains may be one way that women can realize their potential. Technology is also changing the world economy and international trade. I'm sure the presentation from Philippines comes to mind. Digital trade can be an easy and inexpensive way to enter foreign markets, expand women-owned businesses, and promote women entrepreneurship, despite a persisting gender digital divide. Empowering SMEs directly impacts women. 1/3, that is 10 million of the world's SMEs, are women-owned. Trade can also free women from the informal sector and the risks associated with it. Developing services capacity in low-income countries and in sectors such as tourism, finance, health, education, distribution, and environment can also have a particular impact on women's economic empowerment. And what is the WTO doing? I think a number of areas in the WTO's work, such as trade facilitation, trade finance, or aid for trade, can contribute to empower women. In particular, since the financial crisis in 2008, the WTO has been working to keep finance flowing for trade. This is especially important for women-owned SMEs. Trade-related development decisions negotiated in the WTO can also affect women's engagement in the global economy. In this respect, the duty-free, quota-free market access for products originating from LDCs is a good example of such decisions. The same can be said of the LDC services waiver. Indisputably, women have a place in trade, but they still face numerous obstacles. High trade costs fall heavily on LDCs, particularly to SMEs and women traders, pricing them out of international trade. I believe that the ongoing discussions on electronic commerce in the WTO also possess the potential to significantly address some of these challenges. Women are also confronted with greater difficulties in accessing finance. Gender-biased laws prevent women from setting up a business, having the right to work, and engaging in trade-related activities, which require a lot of capital. They face challenges in acquiring knowledge for participating in trade, how to comply with complicated border procedures, how to meet global standards, how to access information on exports. This knowledge is essential to use trade as a tool for economic empowerment and to sustain women's participation in the global market. Women are often excluded from distribution networks, making it difficult to reach out to consumers. They face greater risks when trading across borders. We are going to spend the coming 3 days discussing entrepreneurship, innovation, and capacity building at length, areas where international trade can make the difference for women. In particular, on capacity building, the WTO can contribute to empower women through the Aid for Trade program, which helps developing countries build trade capacity, access the global market, and increase their exports. In sum, they use trade as a tool for development. Did you know that $1 aid for trade is worth $20 of exports? $1 also impacts women, as trade can be used as a tool for their empowerment, because trade is a job provider for women, as I had explained earlier. But we still have a long way to go. Inequality still persists. If trade can help, it cannot do it alone. Trade should and must be accompanied with gender-friendly policies developed at the national and regional levels. Wage inequality is one example. A recent study from the Sciences Poll in Paris explains that the more skilled women are, the more important the wage gap is with men. One of India's historical political figures, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, spoke with wisdom when she said, "We need women to be more interested, more alive, and more active, not because they are women, but because they do comprise half of the human race." I could not agree more. Women are still the invisible force driving societies and economies worldwide. We need to make them visible and foster women's entrepreneurship and empowerment. This is a universal issue. As I was looking at the agenda of this conference, I was struck by the expression, "the new woman." The concept intrigued me and made me think of the feminist movements at the end of the 19th century, when women were emphasizing on taking responsibility for their own lives and their independence and from male control, standing for self-development. I would like to draw a parallel with trade and the 21st century we live in. Women have fought to gain their independence for centuries within their community. Trade connects countries, people, and businesses around the world. And through trade, women can now expand their independence further, worldwide and without borders. Now, this is the irony. They are being interdependent, at least economically, in a totally interdependent world. I will conclude by saying that in the past, women have traditionally been considered as weak, preventing them from accessing jobs and opportunity. New technologies, however, have changed that and are a real game changer for women. The tech-savvy woman is the new woman of the 21st century. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Agah, for putting forth your thoughts on this important occasion.